I quit my engineering job to become a manga artist. Everyone thought I was insane. But it's the best decision I ever made. My name is Eli. I'm 32 years old, and for the past 10 years, I worked as a mechanical engineer in a mid-sized company in Chicago. People often told me I had it all: a stable job, a decent paycheck, a predictable future. Honestly, I was proud of what I'd built. I went to a good university, graduated with honors, and landed a job where I designed parts for industrial machines and water filtration systems. But there was always a part of me that felt trapped. Every morning, I woke up, put on the same clothes, and went to a gray office building where I sat behind a screen, endlessly revising designs and attending meetings that drained the life out of me. My desk was right next to the window, but I rarely looked outside. The view was just another reminder of the life I wasn't living. At work, I was the reliable guy, the one who never missed deadlines and never caused trouble. But after hours, I hid a secret from everyone, including my girlfriend at the time. I had a black Moleskine sketchbook, old and worn out, filled with drawings and ideas I'd been collecting since high school. I loved manga and anime since I was a teenager, but my sketchbook was more than just fan art. It was a place where I could pour out my real creativity: characters, worlds, stories. I had a whole cast of original people living inside those pages, fighting battles and chasing dreams far different from my own life. I never showed anyone, not because I was ashamed, but because it felt too fragile, like a secret dream that would be crushed if exposed. One Monday morning, everything shifted. The sky outside was a dull, lifeless gray, the kind of day that sucks the color out of everything. I was sitting at my desk, staring at a complicated CAD model for a valve system, a design so technical and dull it might as well have been written in a language I didn't speak. As I clicked through the specs and measurements, I suddenly realized I wasn't interested, not one bit. The project didn't matter to me. The numbers, the deadlines, the meetings, none of it had any meaning. I looked around the office. Everyone else seemed as drained as I was, heads down, staring at screens, pretending to care. And in that moment, I felt something break inside me. The crushing weight of realizing I was wasting my life. That evening I got home, soaked from the rain, feeling numb. I opened the drawer in my desk and pulled out my sketchbook. For the first time in a long time, I didn't hesitate. I flipped to a blank page and started drawing. My hand moved almost on its own. A girl appeared, her cloak torn, standing beneath a broken moon. Her eyes were wide, searching, like she was trying to find something lost. I didn't stop until the clock said 2 in the morning. The next night I did it again, and the night after. Drawing became the only thing that made me feel alive. Slowly, I stopped watching TV, stopped scrolling through my phone mindlessly. Work became a hurdle I had to clear so I could get back to my art. 1 week, then 2, then a whole month passed, and I had filled 30 pages with rough sketches, story ideas, and characters. Her name was Kyo. I imagined her in a city trapped under eternal night, a messenger caught between rival factions, carrying secrets that could destroy her. It wasn't perfect. Far from it. But it was mine. One night, on a whim, I posted a few pages anonymously on a small subreddit for aspiring manga artists. To my surprise, people liked it. They left encouraging comments and critiques. One user even messaged me privately saying, "You have something here. Keep going." That message lit a fire inside me. I stayed up late that night fixing pacing, adding shadows, tweaking expressions. For the first time in years, I felt alive. But reality was still waiting for me. By day, I was still Eli, the engineer. By night, I was becoming a mangaka. The split was hard to keep. 2 months had passed since I'd started pouring my soul into Kyo's story. Every night after work, I stayed up late, sketching, inking, writing dialogue. The more I worked, the more I realized how little I belonged in my engineering job. It was like living 2 lives, one where I followed a script written by expectations, and another where I chased a dream that felt raw and real. One Thursday morning, I sat in a meeting that might as well have been a funeral for my enthusiasm. We were discussing a minor adjustment to a pressure valve deadline, something technical and meaningless to me now. My manager, Carl, was talking about timelines and deliverables, but my mind was elsewhere. I was sketching in the margins of my notebook, Kyo standing on a rooftop, facing a masked informant. The pacing felt off. The anatomy was wrong. I wanted to fix it, but I was stuck. Suddenly, Carl stopped talking and looked right at me. "Eli, you're zoning out again? Thoughts?" The room fell silent, all eyes on me. I blinked, realizing I'd been caught. "Sorry, just tired," I mumbled. After the meeting, Carl pulled me aside. "Look, Eli, you're drifting. Your last 2 reports had mistakes. That's not like you. What's going on?" I shrugged, trying to hide how close I was to breaking. "Just tired." Carl gave me a look that said he wasn't buying it but didn't press further. That night, I sat at my desk, staring at a blank page. I wanted to draw, but my hands shook. I wondered if I was insane, risking everything for a dream that might never come true. Maybe I was just a fool clinging to teenage fantasies. Then, out of nowhere, an email popped up in my inbox. Subject: "Read your manga. Interested in publishing?" It was from someone named Yuki Mori, an assistant editor at a small indie publishing house in Seattle. She said she found my pages through the subreddit and liked my work. She wanted to see more. I stared at the screen for a long time, heart pounding. Was this real? A prank? A scam? I replied immediately. 2 days later, we had a video call. Yuki was genuine, excited about my story, impressed with the raw emotion and pacing. "We do limited print runs and digital releases," she explained. "Your art is rough, but there's something powerful in your style. Ever considered doing a full one-shot?" I nodded before even thinking it through. That weekend, I locked myself in my apartment. I worked 16 hours a day, red drawing, inking, toning every panel. I barely ate or slept. When I finished, I sent it to Yuki. She loved it. "We're publishing it. Let's set a release date." I called in sick to work the next day, then the day after. Then I requested a 3-week leave. Carl didn't argue. I think he already knew. For the first time, I posted my work publicly under my own name. It was terrifying, exhilarating, and I had no idea what came next. Quitting my engineering job felt like stepping off a cliff, but I thought the hardest part was behind me. I was wrong. The news spread fast. Friends, family, coworkers, everyone had an opinion. Most of them were skeptical, some openly hostile. My sister shook her head the first time I told her. "Eli, you're throwing away a solid career. What if this manga thing doesn't work out?" My mom's voice trembled. "I'm scared for you. You're giving up security for what? A dream?" At work, I became a ghost. Carl stopped inviting me to meetings. Emails went unanswered. The friendly chatter turned cold when I passed by. Even my girlfriend, who secretly supported me, started pulling away. One night she said, "I love you, but I don't know if I can watch you throw everything away." I felt isolated, scared, doubting every choice. But every morning, I opened my sketchbook. Kyo was waiting for me. My imperfect, messy story was mine, and it kept me going. Slowly, I found a community. Fellow indie creators who shared advice, honest critiques, and encouragement. It was rough, but it was real. Yuki sent me my first payment. Small, only a few $100s, but tangible proof I wasn't crazy. My confidence grew. My art improved. Kyo's world expanded. One evening, a message popped up in my inbox. A teenage fan wrote how my manga helped her through a tough time. She didn't know me, but my story made her feel less alone. That message hit harder than any rejection or doubt. I wasn't just making comics. I was connecting, and that made it worth everything. After quitting my engineering job, reality hit me harder than I expected. The first few weeks were a whirlwind of excitement and uncertainty. The freedom to focus solely on my manga felt incredible, but the bills didn't stop piling up. I was living off my savings, which shrank faster than I'd hoped. Every dollar spent was weighed carefully. At first, I told myself that success would come quickly, that the indie publishing deal was my big break. But soon, the pressure to produce kept growing. I had to learn about marketing, social media, and even contracts, none of which I'd ever dealt with before. I was fumbling through the dark, figuring out how to turn a hobby into a sustainable career. Sleep became scarce. I woke up at dawn, brain buzzing with story ideas, and stayed up late fixing art mistakes or rewriting dialogue. My hands ached from drawing for hours on end. I felt the toll on my health, but I pushed on. Sometimes, the loneliness was suffocating. My girlfriend left after a few months, unable to handle my obsession and the uncertainty. Friends who once called stopped returning my texts. Family visits turned into lectures about getting a real job. I felt like I was drowning, but every time I looked at Kyo, the character who started it all, I found strength. She was flawed and scared, but she kept moving forward, no matter what. I wanted to be like her. One particularly cold evening, I received a harsh rejection from a larger publisher. They said my art style wasn't polished enough, and the story wasn't marketable. It crushed me. I stared at the email for hours, questioning if I had made a terrible mistake. But then, I remembered the fan messages. The people who told me my story gave them hope. That was real. That mattered. Determined, I doubled down on my work. I joined online groups, learned digital coloring, took art classes via YouTube tutorials. Slowly, my style improved. A year after quitting my job, I released the second volume of Kyo's story. Sales were modest but steady. More importantly, my audience was growing. Fans sent fan art, theories, and heartfelt messages. I wasn't alone anymore. One day, Yuki called me with exciting news. A mid-sized publisher wanted to offer me a contract for a full series. It was a dream come true, but also terrifying. Signing meant more deadlines, more pressure, and less creative freedom. After days of thinking, I agreed. It was a chance to reach more people, and finally make a living from what I loved. The transition was brutal. Deadlines were tight. I missed sleep and social life. But with each page, I felt alive in a way I never did behind an office desk. Looking back, quitting my job was the hardest and best decision I ever made. It nearly broke me, but it also gave me a new life, one where I create, connect, and grow every day. And Kyo, she's still with me, fighting her battles beneath that shattered moon, just like I fight mine. The day I signed the contract with the publisher was surreal. I sat at my tiny kitchen table, the printed papers in front of me feeling heavier than any blueprint I'd ever handled. This was it, a real commitment to the path I had carved out with my own hands, away from the safety of my old engineering life. The first months under the publisher's wing were a whirlwind. Suddenly, I was working with editors, marketers, and a small team who believed in my vision but also pushed me to polish every page to perfection. I learned about story, arcs, pacing, character development on a whole new level. It was challenging and sometimes exhausting, but I was growing in ways I never imagined. I still remember the first fan letter that came in the mail, handwritten, from a girl named Sarah, who told me Kyo's story helped her through depression. She said that reading my manga gave her hope when she felt like giving up. I read that letter over and over, sometimes late at night when the pressure felt unbearable. It reminded me why I started. Financially, things weren't easy at first. The advances from the publisher helped, but living in Chicago on a manga artist income was tight. I moved into a smaller apartment, cooked most of my meals at home, and stopped buying things I didn't absolutely need. I also started streaming my drawing sessions online, building a community around my work. The live chats, the instant feedback, the shared excitement, it all made the loneliness more bearable. Over the next 2 years, Kyo's story unfolded. The city trapped in eternal night revealed its secrets. Kyo grew from a mysterious messenger into a symbol of hope and rebellion. I poured every ounce of my experience, every fear and dream into her. The manga started getting noticed beyond the indie scene. Critics praised its emotional depth and unique style. Invitations to conventions and panels followed. I stood in crowded rooms, sometimes overwhelmed, but always proud. Despite all this, I never forgot where I came from. I still kept my old sketchbook, the one that started it all, tucked away in a box. It was a reminder, that quiet spark, that secret dream that had saved me. One summer evening, I sat on my balcony, watching the city lights flicker as the sun set. My phone buzzed a message from Yuki. "We got an offer for a TV adaptation. Big networks are interested." My heart skipped. The dream was bigger now, more real than ever. But I was ready, because I learned that chasing a dream isn't about guarantees. It's about fighting every day, growing through every setback, and finding joy in the journey. I never became the engineer who designed valves. I became a storyteller, a mangaka. And for the first time, I truly felt alive. If you like this video, please subscribe for more.